Oh, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Roundup. It's our daily news and opinion show. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn, and I'm joined today by my very best friend in the whole wide world, my beautiful co-host from Regina, Saskatchewan, Lise Merle. Lise, how's it going?
Well, it's better now that I'm here with you, Sheila Gunn Reid. It's a gray and gloomy day in Saskatchewan, really wet, lots of flooding happening right now. The farmers are quite concerned. So this is a nice little reprieve. Hello, Sheila Gunn Reid.
Hey,
Hello,
it's cold
Canada.
and windy as all get out here. Like so windy. I was out with the billboard truck yesterday. We'll talk about that in a second, but
Mm.
I had to get the driver to jump out of his truck and just hold my tripod from blowing away with like the 50
Oh,
kilometer an hour wind gusts. My eyeballs are still dry and dirty. You
oh,
know,
it's the season.
that season. Anyway, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a second. We'll tell everybody what we're doing around here. I think we might want to kick off the show with a little bit of fun. Olivia, Lise had, I put it in the chat earlier. Lise gave a land acknowledgement at a speaking engagement that she had. I put it like way up in the chat earlier, but wait, I'll tell everybody what we're doing before we get to that.
Okay.
So, this is the Rebel News Roundup. The thing about Roundup, though, is that we also want to round up your opinions, not just the news. And so we ask for something and then we give you something. You know, it's a free and liberal exchange of ideas. So if you are watching us on Rumble, that's an excellent free speech platform. If you want to support the work that we do, actually, there are a couple of different ways. So just start chatting, start engaging with the content, because the more you engage with it, the higher in the algorithm it ends up, and then they serve it up to other people's eyeballs. So that's a great free way to support us. But if you want to go one step further, because as you know, and as I testified at committee, we'll never take a penny from the government to do the work that we do. If you leave a chat that is a paid chat, a Rumble rant, that's our very best, time permitting. I do have a caper to go out on after the show, so we can go a little bit over time, but not too far. So that's Rumble. If you're watching us on YouTube, same rules apply. Their paid chat is called a super chat, and their paid comment. So if you miss a live version of the show, but you still love us and want to support us, you can leave a paid comment that's called a super thanks. So that's it. Let's get into the show, and I want to start it off with something good. Lise Merle gave a land acknowledgement on behalf of parents. Lise, key it up.
Keen viewers to our program will remember last week I was off to a gala for a little organization in Regina called the Regina Civic Awareness and Action Network. And the keynote speaker was a guy everybody in Saskatchewan knows, and lots of people in Canada know too. His name is John Gormley. So John Gormley is my mentor in life, right? You
Yep.
brought me up through radio and introduced me to being a media personality. And if there's one thing that John Gormley taught me, it's to not waste a microphone. And so I did not waste that microphone. We were in a room full of decision makers and thought leaders and people who feel very passionately that the family is the heart of our civilization. And so I opened it with my own land acknowledgement. And we have video for everyone to see here.
Hello, friends. Hello, it's great to see you. Can you hear me okay at the back?
Watch John's head snap.
Okay. We acknowledge that we gather here today on the traditional, unceded, and sovereign territory of parental authority. The foundational domain of mothers and fathers who have raised, protected, and guided their children since time immemorial. We recognize that on this land, and in every land, the home, the family, and the sacred bond between parent and child was never surrendered. It was not ceded through social contract, negotiated by treaty, directed by school board policy, nor legal decree. We honor the enduring stewardship of parents as primary guardians and decision makers and permanent, lifelong, and loving authorities in their children's lives. We acknowledge the historical and ongoing dispossession of parental rights through toxic rhetoric and policies that treat families like obstacles instead of the cornerstone of child rearing. We commit to truth-telling, but no bureaucrat, no government, nor any school has the moral or natural right to supplant the parent. We honor the resilience of families who continue to assert their inherent rights despite malicious and nefarious censorship and erasure. We stand in solidarity with the fundamental truth that children belong first to their parents. This acknowledgement is made with the understanding that true reconciliation requires restoring parental sovereignty as the oldest and most natural right of all. Thank you for indulging my parental rights. I'm Lise Merle, like Lee Harding said, I'm Lise Merle, I'm a mother of 6.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And she is a best-selling children's book author right over her shoulder there.
Yep, that's true. Buck the Rainbow Unicorn. So anyway, people, if you're wondering how I'm going to start every single meeting with anybody from the public school arena, it's going to be with that acknowledgement every single time. You know what? You want to meet your kid's teacher and play my parental rights acknowledgement at the beginning? Feel free, Canada. I did that for all of us. And I just could not refuse that opportunity in that room. So thank you so much for showing it, Sheila Gunn Reid.
You should put that on a PDF and pin it on your X account so
You
that people
think?
can use it. I think so. Why
Okay.
not?
We
Yeah.
can do that. It took forever to write because let me just
I
tell you,
believe it.
I'm not accustomed to writing any kind of land acknowledgement. But then I went and had to research 30 of them to get the best spots to get into that parental rights acknowledgement rewritten. So thanks so much for sharing it, Sheila Gunn Reid. Thanks so
No
much.
problem. You know, that's my job, is to cheer all of your accomplishments and help you fight your battles. Yesterday,
It's true.
the Stay Free Alberta group delivered their petition signatures to Elections Alberta in such a grand way. Hundreds of Albertans waving flags, just an absolute sea of blue. The billboard truck from Act for Alberta was there,
Beautiful.
cutting laps. And what I loved about it, and we might have footage of it. So there's the billboard truck. There's the sea of
Look.
blue.
Oh, Alberta, look at you go.
301,000 and change signatures were collected by 7,000 volunteers over 120 days of one of the most bitter winters we've had in a long time. Intense snow, bitter cold, then melt, then freeze, then cold, then snow. They were out there on roadsides and parking lots all over this province. And what I loved about what Stay Free Alberta did is that on the boxes, and there were a dozen or so boxes.
More, I think, Sheila. Yeah, the bottom of a cube van.
It was like a cargo trailer.
Right.
What they put on those boxes were pictures of the canvassers.
Is that what was on the side of the boxes?
Yes,
I saw
that's
them
the
being
canvassers.
sealed. Oh, look at this.
So those are the canvassers. There are pictures of the canvassers. I actually ran into the guy who was collecting signatures at the base of the pyramids in Egypt. He was there. He like ran past me. He's like, gotta get a picture of myself. I'm on the box. I'm like, which one are you? And then he points. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're the pyramid guy. And then after they took, there's the most Alberta man in the world. He's there. You see an AI rendition of him in all of the Rise of Alberta images. There's Mitch Sylvester. He is the man who is behind the petition question. Those boxes were given to Elections Alberta. And this is Mitch, just a good guy. he refused to take credit for any of this. He said it is all the volunteers. He's just the guy with the question. Everybody else was the execution. I don't know how that man has the energy to do what he does, just every night of the week for the longest time, just at events, collecting signatures, telling Albertans it can be done. This is our one shot. Let's go. And then he comes down, he knocks on, I'm being bumped around by all the jerks in the mainstream media, but he comes down, he knocks on the door, and then they start grabbing all the boxes and bringing him in. There's Jeffrey Rath, who is, we know Jeffrey, he's a prominent lawyer in the independence movement.
Yes, he is.
A feisty fella in his own right. There's the first box going in.
This is incredible.
And they had to set up an assembly line inside. And so they open it, they examine it, and they say they shouldn't have very much attrition in these boxes. By attrition, like thrown out signatures, because they were so careful. They did not collect a signature that could not be verified with an address and identification. They just didn't.
Yeah, and there were so many people in Alberta that have PO boxes as their mailing addresses, and they needed verification of their actual like legal land location or actual land locations. So it was exceptionally difficult for them to collect and verify all of these signatures.
So this is the first box of dozens of boxes. Amazing. And then what they do after, so they open it, they examine it, they give it basically an evidence tag. And then what happens next is it's sealed with evidence tape, tamper-proof evidence tape, because these signatures cannot be scrutinized until the court case from the Indigenous band is resolved, or at least hopefully thrown out. So, and those Indigenous, I'm not going to say it's the bands behind it, because I have some polling data that shows something quite remarkable. I'll do a story on it.
Yeah.
And it's internal polling for Act for Alberta that I am privy to, of course, as the authorized agent for the third-party advertiser Act for Alberta. But these chiefs are not reflective of band membership, that's for sure. But they are doing everything they can to stop Albertans from having their vote on October 19th. But based on 301,000 signatures collected over 120 days in a very sparsely populated province, when they only needed about 177,000, looks like it's go time. So now we move into, once cabinet gives the go ahead, we move into the official campaign period.
Ooh, that's going to be this is going to be such an amazing summer in Alberta, Sheila Gunn. Like if we were thinking, if we were thinking that we were going to get any rest or relaxation in the West this year, absolutely not.
I got to tell you, there was a guy waving one lone Saskatchewan flag there, and I ran up and talked to him, and he was a petition canvasser, and he's like, we can't forget about Saskatchewan.
Oh,
like,
buddy,
they're next.
I agree.
We can't forget about them. They're next.
I agree. And to be honest, like every second person and this is going back to the Bonspiel that we were at in January, when signatures were just starting to be collected, right? Like that was the early part of the process. Every second person that I talked to at that signing event we were at was either from Saskatchewan or had grandparents that came from Saskatchewan. Like everybody in Alberta is related to Saskatchewan somehow. And so thanks so much to that guy. That's so sweet for showing up with your Sasky flag.
He told me this cute story of how when he was out collecting his signatures, and he said, I always made sure I had my Saskatchewan flag out, and he said, always when the wind blew, it looked like the Alberta flag was hugging the Saskatchewan flag. Like, don't worry, we've got you. You're going to come with us. We'll show you how it's done.
Sister. That's right. Come on, little sister. Yeah, we've done that. I mean, we've done that since the very beginning of us. We were separated at birth, and we must be reunited in our future.
Yes, we are fraternal twins, and we might be the first domino, but you will be the next. I have a video coming out. I don't think it'll be out today, because it's enormous. There's so much, there's this speeches from Mitch and showing, how, the boxes were received. And then I'm talking to people. I just sort of asked them, what does this day mean to you? And a lot of people said, this is only the beginning. This gives us our say, but the work really now is just beginning, because now we know who like those signatures, those are reliable votes.
Mhm.
So you don't have to worry about those. It's
That's right.
everybody else now. So video coming anyway. And the billboard truck,
Right.
very well received.
Oh,
Very well received.
I knew you were going to have the best time with it. Like, I just absolutely knew that you were going to have the best time with it. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to get there and experience it for myself again. It's magic, the Rebel billboard truck.
I know.
Like the power you feel driving it through the public is just incredible. I mean,
Yes.
honestly, I'm thinking about what I'm going to put on it the next time it's in Regina.
Yes. And as the authorized agent for Act for Alberta, I should tell you, if you want to keep that billboard truck on the road, it's leaving the Edmonton area, I think tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can catch up to it in Red Deer, and then it's being received by Rebels in Calgary, I think on Thursday, and it'll be down like the Calgary half of the province for the next couple of weeks. If you want to keep it on the road, go to act4alberta.com. That's a registered third party, intensely compliant with the reporting rules. I promise you. Anyways, that's where your donations will go, at act4alberta.ca. All right.
Magic.
It was a wonderful day. Part of history. And I got to tell you, the mainstream media letting history pass themselves by there, because
Sheila,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I want to hear it.
I saw a report by CTV News. Okay, CTV News comes out on their, national evening broadcast. Thousands of Albertans have signed a petition to leave the country, and that's about all. No, nothing to see here. I'm like, there's over 300,000. There is a mile-wide difference, CTV, between saying thousands of Albertans and 300,000 Albertans, which was, by the way, 130,000 more signatures than they actually needed.
Right.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Angela Amato. Nobody taught her in journalism school how to accurately describe
Put the number in the headline.
Put the number in the headline. Of thousands of signatures on petition. Hundreds.
They know what the number is. Put it in the headline. 301,000.
Well, you couldn't write it off as a big nothing burger though. Then could you? Sheila,
thousands could mean 3,000.
That's right. And this is over 300,000. Yeah, there's a mile wide difference.
Yeah,
Miss Amato. Yeah.
Yeah. And the media, like Mitch has done something with the help of 7,000 Albertans who donated their time. 7,000. That's a huge army of volunteers.
That's a big staff. That's a big staff.
He's done something absolutely historic, triggering a secession vote in this province.
Mm-hmm.
And all they wanted to talk about was the Centurion Project's alleged illegal use of an Elections Alberta list. And this is Stay Free Alberta. This is not the Centurion Project. Why are you asking Mitch about it? That's all they asked.
Really?
And kudos to Mitch for, like, his media guy was like, first question goes to Sheila. And I was like, what's next? Like, that seems to be the big thing. It's like, what happens now, Mitch? What happens with Stay Free Alberta? Does it keep on rolling? And he said, no, it's parked now. We're going back to the Alberta Prosperity Project. Like, these are real tangible things that people want to know what happens next. And they kept asking him about things that have nothing to do with him. He's like, we didn't use that list. We had nothing to do with it.
Not our website, not our organization, not us.
No. And yet that's all they wanted to talk about. They wanted to use that controversy to discredit the work that 7,000 volunteers had done. And as Chris Scott said to me, Chris Scott from the Whistle Stop, who's just been really prominent in this movement, he said, you're watching the media, sit there as history goes past them. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the same media that was firing the questions at Mitch Sylvester about what happened with maybe an electoral list, maybe a whatever. Those same media don't question the NDP when they send out constant communications,
text messages to me.
That's right. That's exactly right. None of these MSM would scrutinize their friends over in organized labor or in the NDP in the same circumstances.
No.
But of course they're going to try, of course they're going to try absolutely everything to discredit every part of this, which is why it's so important to be above board every single time. So, for their part, David Parker of the Centurion Project, I'm not even sure what this is, has said that he's going to wait for the investigation to unfold. Like, these
Fair
are
enough.
serious allegations, and fair enough. But why is the mainstream media demanding answers of a different organization with a different mandate and didn't have anything to do with it? Like, lazy.
Yeah, and as Mitch said, he said we had our own ID'd petition signers. There
Sure.
was like a pre-enroll yourself before the petition period opened up, and while the question was being approved by the courts, you could go to the Alberta Prosperity Project. I think it was that's
and
what they were
commit to a
using at the
pledge.
time. Commit.
They were asking for people to take the pledge.
So
when the question becomes available, like, I promise that I'm gonna whatever, it was sort of like a commitment. It was asking people for a commitment before they had the actual verbiage ready on the question. No, they did it. They did an extraordinary capture of people at a time where they really wanted an outlet. Only people that see the harms that Ottawa is doing would have pre-signed up for that. There's no shame in that game of collecting contact information for like-minded Canadians. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And as Mitch said, there were a lot of people who wanted to sign the petition. He said our numbers would have been much higher, save for the weather. It wasn't like when
it wasn't a summer campaign when Thomas Lukasik had some sort of ice cream truck outside. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't, you're standing outside, it's 22 degrees, you're catching some rays, you're escaping some yard work. That's when what is it? Forever Canada was doing their petition collection. And people are actually out on the streets at 22 degrees.
Milling about.
Right. You're staying inside trying not to die when it's minus 40 and a snowstorm.
Yeah,
but
you're running from heat source to heat source, and that's where people were capturing signatures.
He also said, and I heard this myself, and we heard this at the town halls too that we held, and book signings, people are scared to have their name on a list somewhere when they saw what happened to the Freedom Convoy.
Sure.
It did exactly what it was designed to do.
Valid.
Those bank account freezers, freezes and seizures. They did exactly what they were designed to do, and that was to put a chill across any sort of anti-government protest movement.
And an intimidation tactic is what it was.
Sure.
And so, yes, of course, it's valid that some Albertans would feel vulnerable, saying, I don't want to give my information, I don't want to be tied back to this, just in case the crazy activists would misuse my information, identify me publicly, and then punish me somehow.
Yep.
And fair enough. Now all of those Albertans, and I think that this is very much a part of this, now all of those Albertans can go confidently into a voting booth and vote their conscience without the threat of recriminations after this, I think is the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Just making a note, because I was just thinking about that polling data, and there's really some surprising tidbits in there. Like, for example, the video I did yesterday on the overlap between independent supporters and Conservative Party voters in this province. Poilievre should check his tone a little bit. He should take a Danielle Smith approach, because she also knows what the polling data shows. She has her own polling data, but the overlap of UCP voters and independent supporters, that Venn diagram is a circle, and that's why she takes the tone she has been. Poilievre should ease up on his tone a little bit. Now, he hasn't called anybody a fringe radical, a fringe extremist, blah, 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 blah.
But
he's a federalist who wants,
part of the problem with the Conservative Party of Canada is that they don't address these things. They sort of soft foot around some of these issues, and where he could have been strong and advocated for the people of Alberta in their quest for a more sovereign relationship with the federal government. He could have been better to them. But I think the Conservative Party also has to be really careful about not alienating their Western voters,
Right.
not taking advantage of their Western voters. Because there are whispers that perhaps those locked in Western conservative votes have been taken advantage of by the party. That's the last thing the Conservatives need when they're tanking in Quebec and Ontario is to somehow malign their Western supporters. So
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily. I mean, Daniel Smith is threading the needle exactly right. I'm not going to.
Nobody better, yeah.
I'm not going to attack at least 1/3 of my base. I am not going to discredit Albertans who are so angry at this country that they're willing to leave it, and I'm going to allow them to have their say.
Yeah.
That should be the federal party's tone.
Well, because on the inverse of that, if you don't say that, Sheila Gunn Reid, the opposite of that is I don't think that the people of the West are smart enough to make good decisions on their own behalf, and they need us to govern them harder, Daddy. And that is absolutely not the tone of the West right now. And they should quickly find a clever way to communicate that better. Agreed.
Yes. Let's just quickly shift topics before we have to hit an ad break because we've been half an hour on this topic already. Isn't that crazy? I was catching up on the immigration committee, which was yesterday already. It feels like a million years ago because of everything that I managed to get done yesterday. Besides the fact that in the evening I went out dress shopping for a very important event that's coming at the end of the month, and I came home with a pickle t-shirt instead. That's okay. The Ottawa claims that they are going to, I can't even believe this is a thing. As in, I can't believe we weren't doing this already, but it also explains a whole hell of a lot. Ottawa is going to start tracking which temporary foreign residents have left Canada after their permits run out. Did you know that we were doing that?
Start? I'm sorry, just key word in that whole sentence is start tracking which temporary.
They can tell you if you gave $20 to a trucker, but
Sheila,
they can't tell me whose permits have run out and then they're just still running around in the country. Get the van, go to their house, get them, take them to the airport, wave them goodbye, give them a maple leaf temporary tattoo like they do at Canada Day, and just see you. Thank you. Bye.
Well, I can't believe that they're not being tracked the entire time they're here. Would the Arrive Can app not be a perfect thing to deploy on visitors?
Except it never worked.
except that. But still, you know what I mean? Like if there's nobody watching these guys and we're just starting to check who goes home. Oh my word. Lena.
Yeah, and she was saying at committee in some of the clips that I cut, like, oh, we have a really robust entry system. Please take that and apply it to the exit system, because I don't want it to be robust and easy for them to get here. Actually, I want it to be quite difficult, almost difficult to the point of deterrent, so that it's like, it's not even worth it. I'm not even gonna try. That's what I want to hear.
I'm so sorry to break it to you, but the other day I saw a video on, I want to say it was on X. It was a speaker coming to Canada from Africa, okay? From Africa. So he takes this multi-stop trip all the way to Canada, and he says, arriving in Montreal, getting into Canada was just so easy, seamless, super welcoming. All I did was show my letter. And it's like he's doing a TED Talk or some sort of thing at a university. And so he had a letter from the university that says, like, it literally says, dear immigration officer, okay, this person has been invited to speak at our event. He said, he read the first 10 words and said, have a fantastic time in Canada. And I thought, well, my. If that's all you need to slip into the country, and not to say that this kid was, but if you're a bad guy, if you're a bad guy, is that all you need is a letter and 10 words to sneak into the country saying you're going to. There was no verification. There was
No.
no verification. It's like, oh, this is why we're in trouble. Because the immigration officers look at 10 words and go, such important work you're doing. Yes, please come in. We're not going to check that you leave.
I watched Lena Diab squint her way through another committee hearing. And
the
then
power blinks where she's trying to line up her thoughts. Was it awful?
It's not, yeah, like it's not even like blinking, like anxious blinking, like, or something's in her eye. It's like she is clenching her eyes shut. Like,
oh, yes. Yes. Squeezing out the bad words of the conservatives. Squeezing them out.
She doesn't have eyelids. She has 2 sphincters on her face, just clenching the whole time. Anyway, she got up against Michelle Rempel-Garner again. Lise.
Never gonna be able to look at her the same.
Okay. She has, I mean this in the nicest possible way, butthole eyes, in that they just squint. She got up against Rempel-Garner again. And God. You can tell Rempel-Garner is doing the frustrated grade 2 teacher tone with her. Yeah, and it's Lena. About right.
So yeah, the listen, Lena, of Michelle Rempel-Garner. Let's watch.
God. This is dumb.
Count the blinks. Count Lena's blinks.
Okay. Those, yeah. And then also, I'm just wondering, just to be clear, you said that 14% of the cases of fraud that were identified by the Auditor General, so that's, by my math, about 21,400 people, they claimed asylum. Is that correct?
14% of the 153, that's correct.
So do you know what the costs to taxpayers were in terms of providing social services to people who were let into the country potentially fraudulently, who then went on to make asylum claims? Have you done that analysis?
That's exactly why we brought C-12, in order to curb that practice, because that is not the way to gain entry to Canada's immigration system.
But you still don't know where these people are, right? And you still don't know if they've left the country.
Those that have put in asylum claims, Canada knows who they are.
Okay, so
there's
I guess,
claims before the,
I guess this is my question. There's a lot of gaps in the system, and yet your government is on track to issue 215,000 roughly new permits between foreign students and temporary foreign workers. Why are you letting in so many more temporary foreign laborers when you don't have a way to track people whose permits might have expired? Like, why are you doing that?
I've traveled across the country. Businesses, communities in all parts of the country are
but what about
need
Canadian
temporary
kids?
Workers for many different sectors in our economy, and we do have a great system. We know people who are coming in; they are security cleared. We know where they're working.
I guess I'm just wondering, if you can't track if people who aren't supposed to be here can leave, why you would be issuing new permits and potentially taking away jobs from Canadian youth in the middle of a jobs crisis. But I digress. You know, this is pretty bad, right? Like, even a lot of folks in the media brought out that this was pretty bad. Has the Prime Minister called you at all to discuss maybe speeding up the implementation of some of these things, given that you're issuing over 200,000 new permits? Like, has he called you into his office and said, what the heck?
I have constant meetings with the Prime Minister when we develop our immigration levels plan that was tabled November 5th. And we have discussions all the time. I see the Prime Minister on a weekly basis.
Did he talk to you specifically about the AG report and implementing it fast, the fixes faster?
Oh, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, but did he meet with you? Like, has he specifically asked you to do that?
As I said, I meet with the Prime Minister. We meet weekly.
Okay, so he has full confidence in you, is what you're saying.
I have confidence in Canadians, and I believe Canadians have confidence in this government and our work that we were doing.
Thank you, Ms. Rempel-Garner.
Okay, incorrect, Lena. Okay, the last thing we have is confidence in this government. But honest to God, Sheila, Gunn, Reid, we've already brought in millions of temporary foreign workers, and yet now we're bringing in another 200. Why don't we
can't get rid of them?
All of the skilled trades in Canada? No, we can't get rid of them, and they're not skilled trades. They don't do the jobs that we need done in Canada. So now we're bringing in a whole bunch more. Like, make it make sense.
Right. And as Rempel points out, so the Auditor General's report says the system is broken. These people overstay their permits.
Mainly because nobody is watching them. Yes.
Because nobody's watching them.
Yeah.
If you do find them, they claim refugee status. So then they claim asylum.
Right.
As a way to stay in the country. They know that there have been instances of fraud. They aren't dealing with the instances of fraud. I feel like all of these are instances of fraud, but that's I guess a term of legality and not verbosity. And so the system is melting down. It's just chaos. And so Rumpel is right. How do you bring in 250,000 more people into this incredibly broken system? Why don't you, even if you believe that we need these people, and I don't, but even if you do, why wouldn't you hit the pause button until you sorted things out? Lena's like, I have confidence in Canadians. She couldn't say, by the way, that the Prime Minister has confidence in her.
That's right.
And she also couldn't say that she had ever met with the Prime Minister on these issues.
Well, and the Prime Minister and Lena Diab there don't have any dogs in this race. They don't have any young offspring that are frantically looking for a way into the job market. These are people who are completely dispossessed of any responsibility or accountability because it doesn't touch them. You see, it doesn't touch them. So, I mean, just keep looking forward to more of the meltdown that's happening in Canada right now, guys, because we're not seeing a federal government that's pivoting away from this. As a matter of fact, they're leaning into a European immigration strategy that has had disastrous consequences across Europe. Get ready for that kind of Canada, because this is what the Liberal government is ushering in.
All right, let's hit an ad break and then we'll see what else we can get to. We should for sure get to the LGBT nonsense. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stories there, including one I covered last week. Let's hit an ad break. We'll come back on the other side.
Gun bans make great distraction.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us. Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Are you 18 to 30, curious, ambitious, and tired of cookie-cutter journalism? Then listen up. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm the chief reporter at Rebel News, but I'm also the president of the Independent Press Gallery. And I'm excited to tell you that applications are now open for the 2026 Student Journalism Conference, a 3-day, all-expenses-paid training experience in Toronto, August 28th to 30th. That means your travel, your hotel, and your meals are all covered. You just bring the drive. This isn't a lecture hall snooze fest. It's hands-on reporting, real-world skills, practical training, and direct access to experienced independent journalists who know how the media landscape in Canada actually works. This year's theme is citizenship and civil liberties, 2 issues that matter now more than ever. You'll also compete in a live collaborative reporting challenge, creating a real journalism project with a chance to win the grand prize. And here's the big part. Past graduates are now working in independent media organizations all over Canada, building careers, breaking stories, and making a difference. Only 20 applicants will be selected, so the competition is real. Deadline to apply is June 14th. If you've got grit, curiosity, and something to say, apply now at studentjournalismconference.com. Canada needs more journalists who ask tough questions. Maybe one of them is you.
Gun bans make great distraction.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us. Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
All right. Before we move on to the LGBT nonsense of the day, including the cringe, we should point out that Mary Simon is out at GG, at Governor General.
Happy
But
trails.
as
All the best in your retirement, Mary. Like as you sail away, sail away.
yeah, she's gonna have to start paying her own way, which is gonna be a
Oh,
real shock
Sheila.
to her because
Sheila.
she really just picked the pockets of Canadians every step of the way. So Mark Carney, thank you to Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Mary Simon, for her exemplary tenure as Governor General and for her lifetime of advocacy for Inuit rights, Indigenous self-determination, and the preservation of Indigenous language, culture, and identity. As she prepares to exit the role, please leave the silverware, Mary. Her legacy will endure not only in her service, but in the way she served with unshakable belief in Canada. She was one of the spendiest governor generals in a long time.
Don't let the diamond encrusted doorknob hit you on the way out, Mary.
But
it'd be a terrible state of affairs if that were to happen.
But it gets worse. The new pick is worse.
Please
okay?
Don't. I'm not ready. I don't. Okay.
Okay, you ready? So I'm very pleased to announce, this is Mark Carney, that on my recommendation, His Majesty has approved the appointment of the Honorable Lise Arbour as the 31st Governor General of Canada.
Who is this person?
Across more than 5 decades, she gave voice to those whose dignity was denied, and held institutions to account, changed lives through her service. As Canada's next Governor General, Arbour will represent the best of Canada's citizens and the world. So Lise Arbour is
please tell us.
She is a former Supreme Court justice. And I have this clip from the Monk debates in 2017. Mark Carney's new Governor General pick is a mass immigration enthusiast. In the Monk debates, she was the former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights from 2004 to 2008.
No.
She argues for Canada to take in massive amounts of refugees and attacks anyone who objects as hypocrites. So if you think that Lena Diab is going to handle immigration, this appointment signals that the government has other intentions. Now, this is a purely symbolic appointment. You know, she doesn't really have a governing role as the Governor General. However, this is a message being sent to us by appointing her. Do we have that clip from the Monk debates from Canada Proud? This is with Nigel Farage, by the way.
This puts on us a special obligation to provide for a generous resettlement program aiming both at welcoming refugees and at easing the burden on states who are struggling to live up to their international obligations.
So we have to help everybody else.
And I believe with true international cooperation in place, this is eminently feasible. And we should do it the smart way by ensuring that asylum seekers can travel safely to places of refuge, thereby undercutting the smugglers, and by deploying extraordinary resources to meet this extraordinary challenge.
Oh my God.
I am aware of the fear that an influx of foreigners will transform our social fabric in an undesirable way.
It did. 9 years later, it did.
The reality is that our social fabric is changing anyway in this increasingly interconnected world. We have a choice. We could look to the past and stagnate in isolation, or we can embrace a future in which our children will develop their own culture, fully open to that of others, inspired by the choices that we are making today. The greatest threat to Western values is not an influx of people who may not share them today. It's the hypocrisy of those claiming to protect these values and then repudiating them by their actions.
Oh my word, Sheila Gunn Reid. Just think of your life, just think of your life back in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And do you think of that time and think, my goodness, we were stagnating in isolation? No, it was the absolute best time to be a Canadian. You know, before they destroyed our reputation on the international stage, flooded our country with third world foreigners who have completely transformed the cultural and social, we'll say social identity of the nation. And they deployed the UN, like, what is it? Sheila Gunn Reid, Ezra quotes it often. It's like the UN's re-immigration plan.
Migration pact.
Yeah. Thank you. And so they deployed this on us. And after we've seen all of the worst consequences, this is the person that they elevate to the top of government. Reminder, this person, although it's like a highly ceremonial role, she has...
It's a message.
Well, she has the ability to prorogue Parliament. The authority granted to this position is extraordinary. And this is who they picked.
We're not done yet with her. But also, I just noticed in that B-roll of the Prime Minister walking with her.
Yeah.
How small is she? Because he is a teeny tiny man. And he is, I like to describe him as osteoporotic in his posture. And she, like, look how she's at his shoulder.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is who has hope? Who has hope in these two jokers to be able to rein it in?
She's she has the build of an Ewok. Like, she's small and squat. Okay, but we're not done yet because this is fresh from Juno News, like just moments ago. Prime Minister Mark Carney's pick to become Canada's next Governor General, Louise Arbour, disparaged Canadian soldiers as white boys who like guns but don't like women or anybody who doesn't look like them in a 2022 interview.
Oh, well, isn't that racist? Yeah. Isn't that racist and disparaging against soldiers who are expected to give up a lot to serve the country? Isn't that interesting? That's what she thinks of you, Canada. She just told you. Insane.
I look forward to her comically diverse security detail.
Oh, yes, me too. Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
me too. Yeah, I do. I really
a 63 passenger van. So 62 guys in suits and earpieces can follow her into whatever little shawarma place goes into.
I imagine she's not going to apply DEI to her own security detail.
I bet those are all going to be white guys.
Yep. Big dudes who actually like guns. On the theme of LGBT, Mark Carney, this is from him today. Did you know that today is a somber and solemn day?
Tell me now. Tell me more, Sheila.
Bitch, Kleenex. On the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and 2S LGBTQI plus people, we honor the survivors, those taken, and everyone whose life has been changed by the MMIWG2S plus crisis in Canada. To ensure the National Family and Survivors Circle has the tools to build a safer, more equitable society. Today, we are providing the NFSC with $2.6 million in funding over 3 years. Do you know what we could do? There's a lot of acronyms in there. And I struggle with acronyms. I don't know why. I can only say the ABCs, but don't ask me to say other letters in sequence. You know what would help actually with the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls? Also, by the way, missing and murdered Indigenous men are murdered at a much higher rate, but we don't like to talk about that. Can we do something about bail reform, please? Can we keep the bad guys in jail so they don't go back to their communities and beat them up? And can we get rid of the sentencing circles where these guys get a slap on the wrist?
Right. Where buddies in their own community say, don't do it again, bud. Don't beat her again, bud. Don't do anything worse, bud. And then when she goes missing, everybody's like, well, who could have done it?
And can we get rid of reduced sentences for Indigenous offenders? Because the majority of these women are being killed by men from within their own community.
Right. That's $2.3 million to avoid that entire thing, Sheila Gunn Reid, is that Indigenous women go missing and go murdered because of the actions of Indigenous men.
Largely, that's what the statistics show. And so maybe if we didn't give reduced sentences for Indigenous offenders, maybe there would be a greater deterrent to these sorts of things. Maybe if we just relied on the theory that justice is blind, and it should be, maybe we could help keep these women and girls from predation within their own communities.
Maybe, but
what do I know?
I mean,
In the good news on the LGB front, Alberta judge denies an effort to amend the court challenge against the province's trans laws. The groups Egal and Skipping Stone, federally funded with gajillions of dollars to bring these sorts of stuff against the provinces. So the province, the federal government can't meddle in education and certain laws. It's not within their purview. So what they do is they fund these activist groups to do it for them with your money. And
this is what happened in Saskatchewan in 2023.
And it's happening
with
here.
With the Saskatchewan Parents' Bill of Rights. Unlike in Saskatchewan, where a judge actually did let them make their argument and let it proceed through the courts, that judge sadly passed away very soon after making that call. Alberta's doing better things. Alberta's judge said, you know, Egal and Stepping Stone, we're not going to take lessons from you over what we do in Alberta healthcare. This is the purview of the government of Alberta, and you're going to have to try again with your argument. So a wonderful, absolutely wonderful win in the courts, which is very, very rare these days. But Sheila Gunn Reid, tell me that judge's name so that we may praise. I'm guessing it's a woman.
Yes,
is it a woman?
It is a woman. So
Yes,
Justice
ma'am.
Alison Kuntz
Thank you.
said, having determined that the ban falls within Alberta's jurisdiction, i.e. health and safety, it is unnecessary for me to consider any of the other issues raised by the parties on this application. And tossed it.
Can we go down a little bit, Olivia? That piece goes on to say it has a response from the Minister. Oh, here we go. Yeah. In a statement, Justice Minister Mickey Amory's press secretary reiterated that the government's legislation is about preserving the choices of children and youth, strengthening the role of parents, and ensuring fairness and safety in amateur competitive sports.
Yeah,
what a wonderful state of affairs.
Yeah, he goes on to say, Alberta's United Conservative Government will be unapologetic in our commitment to these principles. That's Heather Jenkins. I think that's Mickey Amory's press secretary. You had a fun interaction with Mickey Amory once. You didn't know that he was our justice minister, which is very funny. We don't need to go into details, but that was funny.
It was the best. And this is why I very much appreciate Mickey Amory. The end.
He was funny. He was funny about it.
I came in weird and Mickey Amory was just great with it. So it was,
He's funny. He's good. He's thinking on his feet.
He's the best.
This morning from Parliament Hill, which is why Rebel News couldn't be there. Quit holding your press conferences at Parliament Hill if you want independent journalists to be there, because we can't. The press gallery blocks us. But still, military vet Jeff Evely, and you know him from the Woods ban legal challenge, which he won, says his daughter was referred to gender clinics without his knowledge and disputes the medical guidance she receives. Let's watch this clip today.
In 2021, the House of Commons unanimously passed Bill C-4, banning what it calls conversion therapy. This bill makes it illegal to cause a systematically gender-confused child to feel comfortable in their natural body, while causing them to feel that they were born wrong remains legal. I submitted House of Commons petition E-7314 to repeal this odious bill to MP Garnett Genuis for authorization for public signatures on 1 April 2026. He declined to authorize this petition without comment, but I know why. For the last 10 years of my military career, I was a single dad to my two remarkable kids, now grown adults. We were a team. We went everywhere together. I coached cheerleading and softball, taught them music and martial arts. In 2017, when my daughter was just 14 years old, I took her to the mental health clinic at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, or CHEO, in Ottawa, to be seen for depression. After a few appointments, I went inside for a check-in and found that she had been referred to the gender clinic without my knowledge. I spoke with the counselor, Sebastian. When I asked about the timeline for her transition, he just shrugged and said, it could be years, it could be 4 months. We attended a few more appointments with Sebastian before I stopped taking her. As time passed, she grew her hair back long, started taking care of her skin, wearing more jewelry, and even using lip gloss. But she needed braces, so I deployed to Iraq. While in Iraq, my daughter turned 16, the legal age of consent in Ontario. CHEO started calling her phone directly to tell her she didn't need my permission anymore. She could come back to the gender clinic to continue down the path of medical gender transition. I took early leave from my tour to attend an appointment with Dr. Stephen Fetter. He immediately offered puberty blockers, stating that they would pause her puberty and that they were completely reversible. My daughter had cut her hair short, again, just to attend this appointment. Over the course of several consultations with Dr. Fetter, 2 of which I recorded, he confessed to me that he had absolutely no evidence whatsoever to support his assessment, but that he had looked into my daughter's heart and soul to determine that she was actually a male. When I asked how he knew that a soul existed, he said, quote, "I don't have to answer that question." My daughter was then referred to endocrinology. Over the course of 2 appointments, which I recorded, Dr. Maria Keeley told me my daughter would commit suicide if I didn't support her transition, that adolescent onset gender dysphoria does not desist, and the puberty blockers were completely reversible. When I asked for evidence to support her claims, she said, quote, "We're not going to be able to give you that evidence." When I brought a stack of scientific papers contradicting her claims into her office, she ran out of the room. I spoke to my MP, Pierre Poilievre, about my experience with CHEO on the 22nd of January 2021. I asked him to vote no on the conversion therapy bill, and I offered to let him hear the recordings of the appointments I attended to support my claims. He refused and voted for the conversion therapy bill 2 more times. This is the reason MP Garnett Genuis would not authorize my petition for public signature.
He named every single name.
Every single one. I'm really happy that we're both in a position where we never have to defend our awful, terrible, no good, demonstrably destructive decisions of this time. There is enough evidence across the entire world that says this is no good for kids, hasn't ever been for kids. And to hear that is really stunning and really disappointing from conservative members of parliament. Really
including my own, by the way. Now, I would suggest, maybe I'm being too nice, but the party of 2021 is much different than the party of 2026.
Is it?
I think so. I think so. We've heard Poilievre talk about trans issues with regard to children
once or twice.
Yeah, he has. But that's a story of grooming, isn't it?
Of course it is. And this is the argument that parental rights advocates have been driving home since 2020, when we all became aware of what our children were being exposed to through Canadian public institutions. We were saying they're transing the kids without the parents in the room. And all of the left wing said, you bigot, you transphobe, you homophobe, the ways that they disparaged parents, when in reality it was happening. People were trying to ring alarm bells, begging anybody for help. And here we are. That was, he said he talked to Poilievre in January 2021. That tells me that Pierre Poilievre had evidence of this destroying families for 5 years. And we've gotten maybe 2 tiptoed sentences out of him in 5 years. Absolutely not good enough. You know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. The reason conservatives keep losing is because they have no balls when it comes to this issue.
80-20. This is an 80-20 issue, and look what Danielle Smith is doing in Alberta, and a lot of people.
She's picking up seats just left and right, just being common sense about,
all
being
over the
rewarded
place
for her bravery, and yet not in the entire Conservative Party brain trust do we have not one non-coward. Is that what we're getting at here? Because it sure kind of feels like it.
Right. And a lot of people currently owe Jeff an apology. Jeff and his family an apology. This is classic grooming behavior on the medical institution. You can tell his daughter was while he's out of the country trying to pay the bills to get her some braces. And this young lady, when I heard him say that she cut her hair before an appointment,
in advance,
she's trying to please her groomers.
That's exactly right. It's Stockholm syndrome. It's Stockholm syndrome, where you try and appease and you try and make your abusers happy. This is because in a 17-year-old's head, just think about this. Your dad, who is your only parent, is no longer available to you. He is entirely somewhere else in the world, putting his own life on the line, right, for you. And you need a quick bit of guidance. You need, you may be confused. It's a hard time in life. And you show up to these monsters' offices who usher you down a path of sterility and self-loathing. These people should be in jail. These people should be in jail, as should anybody really honestly that publicly supports this in 2026.
You know, when he talked about the doctor saying he looked into her soul, these doctors consider themselves high priests in some sort of religion, don't they?
Oh no, they're witch doctors. They are the witch doctors, and they worship at the altar of this radical religion. It makes no sense to anybody else. But take Jeff's one story there. Take Jeff's one story there, and know, Canada, that this happened to hundreds of thousands of our young people. Hundreds of thousands of our young people were exposed to radical gender theory at a time where they were not mature enough to be able to make life-altering decisions. I wrote a whole book about it. Every child in Canada that was exposed to radical trans ideology or gender ideology needs Buck the Rainbow Unicorn. And Jeff Evely, I believe that you just got your name in my second edition of Buck the Rainbow Unicorn. Props to him. Props to him. And I can't tell you how important dads are in all of this.
Yeah.
Dads change everything. When dads get involved in this, it changes everything. So dads, show up for your kids. Jeff Evely just keeps getting better and better. I just can't say enough about him. Yeah.
You know, like, look how quickly this happened to him. He was doing the right thing. He was taking his daughter to doctors when he saw her manifesting symptoms of depression. He was concerned. He got her help, but it wasn't help. It was contamination. It was an infection with this pernicious ideology. Like, Jeff Evely is the kind of dad who would quite literally die so that his daughter could have straight teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he deployed in a dangerous role so that his kid would have straight teeth. He's not some crazy person. He's just a guy who would do everything he possibly could for his daughter.
And he still is. Know, I guess Sheila, going back to 2021, when he said that he met with Pierre Poilievre, in 2021, Pierre Poilievre would have had a 2-year-old, and now he has a 7-year-old, and it escapes nobody's attention that autistic children are disproportionately more likely to get sucked in by
girls in particular.
And so as a dad, maybe Pierre Poilievre feels differently about how this impacts vulnerable children. And I'll give him a little bit of grace for that. But this is, I mean, I'm just going to, again, if they want to win, they'll take on this subject. If they want to win, they'll take on this subject. If they want to keep losing, okay, if they want to be super comfortable in their loss, they'll keep avoiding it.
Yeah.
They'll just keep giving it to the
and like you all, give them some grace. They can say, oh, look, in 2021, forgive us, we didn't realize how bad it was. And we
didn't know what the libs were walking us into. Exactly this.
And and I've heard from a couple conservative MPs exactly that. We didn't know where this was going, and we should have known, and we were being warned by the public where this was going. I've heard from that. I've heard them say that to me directly. But wouldn't it be great if somebody said that publicly? Like, look, we fumbled the ball on this. We should have listened, hindsight being 2020, but we will tackle this head on. If they just said that, I'd be like, perfect. I'll never bother you again about it.
And this is fleshing out in the BC Conservative race, where we have candidates tripping over themselves to tell us how quickly they are going to unroll all of this for the children of Canada. So get in line. Anybody that wants to get elected, you want to be elected, this is the issue that is going to elect you. Yeah. Or you could keep losing, whatever. I don't care. In any case, I don't care. I honestly don't care. Who I care about is kids like Jeff Evely's kids.
Yes.
That's who I care about. Yeah. And supporting parents like Jeff.
I think we'll leave some of those last topics maybe for tomorrow. Does anybody want to see one more clip of Lena Diab?
I had enough of her already.
Okay,
do you want to? Okay.
No.
I can see the comments being like, no more Blinky Lena.
No. We just have a clip of her saying that she lost track of 40,000 people who shouldn't be in the country.
Okay.
You want to watch it? Let's just watch it together.
Let's just watch. Yeah, we like watching
it. You know what? And it's Brad Redekop. So he's a conservative. Yeah, conservative MP from Saskatoon. So let's watch this.
Let's go.
Paragraph 64 of the Auditor General's report talked about the 39,500 individuals that shouldn't be in Canada anymore. How many of those still have valid permits?
So again, is at 22%, which is a 33,000 number. That was the number that were flagged that had that status expired.
Okay, but you're talking that's a different one. This is the problem with CBSA, the ones that had lost their status and should have been sent out of the country. And that's the 39,500 people that were identified in the Auditor General's report. Do you know how many of those still have valid permits?
I don't have that number right now.
Do you know how many of them claimed asylum?
Oh, again, we know 14% of the total of 153,000 claimed asylum.
Okay, but that's a different. The 153 is a different number. These are the ones that. Okay, so I can see the confusion. So this actually points to a lot of the confusion between CBSA and IRCC, because this is the point where IRCC is not communicating properly with CBSA. Do you know how many of these 39,000 people that the Auditor General found? This is, just to remind you, this is when the Auditor General had to work with you guys because you didn't know what the status of these people were. You assumed they'd left the country, and CBSA found they didn't. Do you know how many of them have left voluntarily?
So, would we have those numbers? May I ask the official that
Sure,
question?
Mr. Gallivan.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if you have those numbers, you could table them with the committee.
I don't have that number with me for sure. Okay. I do not.
All right.
I think that's good.
She
goes on and on at committee. She has no clue. He's asking her one thing. She doesn't have a clue what the numbers are. She's talking about something else. But yeah, 40,000 people that they just completely lost track of who shouldn't be in Canada. They were given permits erroneously.
Well, I'm sure that it will interest Brad Radicop of Saskatoon West to know that in his very own riding, I have sources who say that IRGC members are getting piped directly into Saskatoon.
No doubt.
So maybe Brad Radicop, maybe like when he gets around to talking to Lena the next time, could maybe ask her about those bad guys who are getting directly into our province, maybe.
Like, the woman has no clue. I don't know how the immigration ministers keep getting worse.
And yet she meets with Carney every week. Like, I mean, if she doesn't know the basic bitch stats of her own portfolio, what is she even saying to the Prime Minister when she meets once a week?
Well, and I just look at her and then I compare her to Danielle Smith, and I realize that is an unusual bar to compare. But Danielle Smith, you can talk to her about anything and she has all the numbers, just like on a shelf in her head, like that.
She just pulls the stats down and rattles them off. But Lena Diab, absolutely no clue about what's happening within her own portfolio.
Yeah.
No clue. Brides.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do chats and then cringe because I have to get out on a caper with the billboard truck. We've got Politicians Never Lie gives $5.05. This is on your land acknowledgement for parents. Says Lise, excellent.
Thanks, buddy.
Snowy Roof gives us $5 and says, I can remember in the 1980s and early 90s when Saskatchewan's biggest export was its young people. The saying at the time was last one out, turn the lights off. That's true. It was thanks to the Roy Romano NDP, and they were all coming to Alberta, and we were glad to have them.
There was a reason why everybody got luggage when they graduated high school in Saskatchewan during those years, because you were leaving. The end. Here's your luggage. Pack your bags. Get going. There was no opportunity in Saskatchewan at that time. You're right. Thanks for that.
It's Paul Newman gives us $6.99 and says, I think Albertans would be more willing to vote for independence if they know that Saskatchewan was voting to leave Confederation too.
Where are your hype girls?
Maybe.
Where are your hype girls?
Yeah. Maybe. I think more.
The two of us together would be absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah.
We'd have all the ag, all of the oil and gas, all of the uranium, all of the forestry, all of the water. I mean, we would just
fertilizer, gas.
Don't tell me that that's not a winning combination, Alberta. Yeah. Saskatchewan is
lithium, by the way. That's a new Alberta discovery, is massive reserves of lithium, so that we don't need to send child slaves into mines in Africa. You could get it here where everybody gets a fair wage. You'd need a change of law in Saskatchewan because they have a non-binding referendum process there, though.
We're working on that. We've done bigger things.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I got it. Sasquatch Chronicles gives us $9.99, says, I'll never look at Leah Diab the same again. Every time she does that weird squint, Sheila's words will pop up into my head. With all due respect to Lena, I'm sure she's a friend of the show, LOL. So I said she doesn't have eyelids, she has sphincters.
Like, it's technically true. Like, it's technically true, but it just inspires a vision, for everybody. And I think that everybody enjoys that. Yes, Lena, the sphincter blinker.
She's got her sphincter blink going.
Lena, the quicker sphincter blinker.
My God.
It's been a long day.
The things I say on TV. Still less controversial than anything David Menzies says. C700 Angus, $5. I will have to seek professional help as I want to transform to sheeple. Pronouns will be ram, you. I feel sorry for Jeff having to go through this, especially standing up for Canada. Yeah. Yeah. Sad. So I selected the cringe today, and it was on short notice. As you know, Los Angeles is, it's election season in California. And Spencer Pratt is really running a banger of a campaign.
Sheila Gunn Reid,
LA mayor.
I've been watching Spencer Pratt and his wife, Heidi Montag, since the late, or early 2000s. They've been a staple in reality TV for that many years. His house burnt down in the Pacific Palisades last year. And now this kid has an LA mayoral campaign that's just setting on fire. And you won't believe why. You won't believe why. He sounds a lot like another presidential kind of guy we know in the United States. That's where he lives, by the way, in that Airstream with his family of 4 after their entire neighborhood burned down. But I am obsessed with Spencer Pratt.
Oh, his messaging is so good.
I want Heidi as the first lady. I want Spencer. I want him to clean it up, and I want Los Angeles back in time for the Olympics.
And, he seems like an excellent dad from what I can see. His last video before his house burned down was he and his son feeding hummingbirds, which was kind of magical to watch. I don't really care for birds, but it was magical. His messaging is so good. He's another reality TV politician, and
he's a natural
life now.
He's a natural though, because he said, "Well, look at what the experts and the professional classes and the professional politicians got us. They got a city that's falling apart. We have Skid Row that encompasses 50 square blocks. Could you imagine? 50 square blocks of zombies exist 24 hours a day, 365 days a year in Los Angeles. Everybody is stepping over homeless people to try and get to their Erewhon fancy grocery store. Nobody wants this. They're letting houses burn down. They let people die in those fires." And Spencer Pratt goes, "Well, maybe we need an outsider to shake up all these bastards." And so good for him. I just love watching it. Yeah.
But being election season, sometimes you get some real bright lights like Spencer Pratt, and then you get some dim bulbs. And we have a poison dart frog person, brightly colored but poisonous. Maybe Pudlo, an LGBTQ activist and drag queen, is running to become the first transgender California state senator. I think there's some rough language in here, but your eyes should have alerted you to that already. Look at this garish thing. Let's watch. You know what? 50% chance this person wins. This is California, right? Let's watch.
ICE needs to get the out of California. My name is Maybe. I'm running for state senate in the heart of Los Angeles and East LA, and I will fight for human rights in the state legislature. I've been working with people experiencing homelessness for over a decade, volunteering at shelters, being the homelessness liaison for the neighborhood council, and now being the operations manager for the Neighborhood Homeless Coalition. I'm fighting to make California affordable, safe, and inclusive for all. Tuition-free college, healthcare for all, housing for all, renters' rights. We can have all of these things. We deserve all of these things. We're going up against some powerful special interest groups in this race, including the landlord lobby, fossil fuel companies, and even the leaders of AIPAC. This campaign only takes money from individuals, the people that we are going to be elected to represent, not foreign interest groups, not lobbyists, not corporate, anything. California has never had a trans or non-binary legislator, and that is far past time to change. Please donate to this campaign for human rights, justice, and equity today. Let's keep fascism out of California together.
Sir, sir, please be quiet. You just admitted on television that you've spent the last 10 years solving Los Angeles's problems or California's
and they're
problems.
worse.
Los Angeles alone, no, this is not California, this is just Los Angeles alone, has 70,000 homeless people living on its streets. That's exactly right. And yet this guy in his getup says that he can fix all of the problems because, well, he's been fixing them for the last 10 years. This is why Spencer Pratt is doing so well in the polls right now. This is why, because he's saying there's an entire ecosystem of NGOs that are operating out there that are siphoning money from the homeless people that actually need it into their own pockets. And then you have this guy who has spent 10 years. Well, it looked like he's on a weight gaining journey over those 10 years, and he's going to fix all of the problems. He doesn't, I mean, this is a man who clearly thinks that he is a woman and he's going to fix any problems. Please, sir, sit down.
Right. I mean, and his list of things that he thinks that people deserve: free everything.
Rentalsmen. That's right. Access to the rentalsmen. He wants renters' rights. Sorry.
Free everything. Free healthcare, free this, free that. You know what happens when you go after the landlords?
They sell.
They sell,
Yes.
and then they sell their private rental, to just someone who's going to live in there. It's not going to be a rental property anymore. When you bring in rent control, guess what happens? Builders don't come.
That's
because they can't increase rents to deal with inflation or utility costs or taxes, which get out of control when, like, you have to raise taxes if you want free everything, because there's no such thing as free anything.
And these people work hand in hand with like eco warriors.
Yeah, he's up against big oil, he says.
Well, the entire Pacific Palisades fire wasn't fought appropriately because they were protecting some sort of milkweed in the hills. You know what I mean? So then you have these environmental groups that protect all of the land around these urban areas. Then they're ignored for 50 or 60 years, so that the environment won't be at all harmed. And then they burn it all to the ground. This is what Spencer Pratt is fighting. It's incredible.
If I recall correctly, they didn't clear out the dead eucalyptus trees that had been planted there, and those made everything a tinderbox, and they didn't do it for environmentalist reasons, and that made what was already a bad situation even worse. Sort of like the Jasper situation.
Yeah. The deadfall wasn't managed appropriately. There was no forest management, just the overwhelming eco considerations overruled public safety. That's what happened.
Okay, let's wrap the show. I have a couple of committee clips involving our friend Andrew Lawton, formerly of Juneau, who's now the powerhouse MP for London, Ontario. He was over at Heritage Committee giving it to a bunch of bureaucrats. So, of course, I must clip that. And then I have to get out the door on a billboard truck caper. So let's wrap up the show. Lise, thanks so much for being on the show. And Olivia, thanks for letting us go long.
Yeah, thanks, Olivia. Thanks for having me, Canada. We'll see you tomorrow on Western Wednesday.
Yes. Thanks to everybody who pitched in some money to keep the lights on here, interacts with the show. Great free way to help us out. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And as we say on the show here, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all. The Conservative Party has an Alberta problem, a big one, not because Alberta has abandoned conservatives. I think we're more conservative than ever, but because Alberta Conservatives might be outgrowing Ottawa, and new poll numbers prove it. A new Act for Alberta poll shows something remarkable. 66% of Conservative supporters in Alberta support independence. Federal Conservative supporters. 51% strongly support it, another 15% somewhat support it. Now, that's not a fringe minority. That's not a handful of angry keyboard warriors or disgruntled oil patch hands. That is the Federal Conservative Party's Western Engine Room looking at Confederation and saying, I think this deal's probably done. And that explains something important about the way leader Pierre Poilievre and the federal Conservatives talk about Alberta independence. They oppose it, of course.
Well, there's talk about Alberta separating.
That won't happen.
What was that about?
It won't happen. Some people are frustrated, but they, there's some legitimate frustrations. But at the end of the day, Canada's going to be united.
The Conservative Party of Canada cannot win without Alberta. We know that. They know that. Take Alberta out of Confederation and the Conservative Party of Canada loses its safest seats, its donor base, its volunteer army, and its moral claim to represent the West and its issues. Without Alberta, there may never be another Conservative government in Ottawa again. So yes, they are against independence. But notice what they're not doing. They're not going full liberal style Project Fear. They're not screaming that Albertans are stupid, racist, reckless, dangerous separatists who need to be shamed back into line. Why? Because these people can read a poll the same way I can. If 2/3 of your own Alberta supporters back independence, you cannot sneer at them without blowing up your own base. You cannot smear them as extremists when they are your riding presidents, your donors, your door knockers, your sign crews, your voters. So the Conservative Party of Canada is trapped. Ottawa needs Alberta to stay. The Conservative Party of Canada needs Alberta to stay. But Alberta Conservatives are increasingly asking, what exactly are we staying for? For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Hey, have you gotten my new best-selling book yet? It's called Independence Blueprint, What Alberta Can Learn from Quebec, and it draws on the work and studies that Quebec did in the lead up to their referendum in 1995. It's available on Amazon or at independenceblueprint.ca.